Number one concern is the loss of human life. Of course, our prayers and our thoughts for those families. But there is going to be an impact to the supply chain. So I want to get a sense from you in a broad sense. In the near term, how big of an impact is this to the East Coast supply chain? What's the near-term impact when we talk about rates?
Yeah, so as you said, there definitely will be an impact. We kind of have to split it into two categories. One is container traffic, right? Imports and exports of containerized goods, and the other, as you mentioned, is vehicle imports and exports. So, if we start with containers, as you said, the Port of Baltimore is a large port, but it's not one of the largest. I think it's the fifth largest on the East Coast alone. They handle something like 1 million containers in 20 unit equivalents a year. If we talk about kind of total U.S. imports last year, they were at about 22 million, so that's a little bit less than 5%. So kind of on an immediate impact, there'll be an impact on exporters who are dependent or normally rely on the Port of Baltimore. They're going to have to move those, either wait or move those goods by truck or rail to other export ports. So there'll definitely be kind of that local impact. And for imports as well, importers who rely on Baltimore are going to have to adjust and see diversions to other ports. But those are much larger ports, likely have that capacity to absorb those.
So it sounds like near-term disruptions, rates might spike a bit, but then things will normalize because there are other larger points, including the Port of New York, New Jersey, the Port of Norfolk. There's other neighboring ports. It's short-term an inconvenience that might lead to a quick spike. I want to point out something that you just mentioned. It's not a big container port, but it is a big, and if you watch our coverage, it's a big roll-on, roll-off port. That means there's a lot of things, machinery, cars that come out of there. Busiest port for auto shipments, as we said, 23 billion in autos and light trucks. We had the Mercedes-Benz US CEO on our air yesterday saying it's going to take a while to really figure out the real impact. But we do know there's going to be an impact. Alice mentioned it's going to take years to rebuild the bridge. Is this going to impact the supply of autos or the supply here in the U.S. or the supply of export of autos to other places and parts and things like that?
Right. So as you said, it is the largest roll-on, roll-off port in North America. Something like 70% of those vehicles handled are imports. So I would say if we can compare it to container traffic, the likelihood is a bigger impact in terms of auto imports than in terms of consumer goods. But likewise, as you said, as we heard from kind of leadership in the auto industry, they're also looking for alternatives. There are alternative ports that handle large volumes of autos, but because of the size of Baltimore, it may have a larger impact and take more time to kind of even out.
I want to ask you one last question. We're talking a lot about containers and exports and imports coming off ships, but does this almost, I guess, like automatically increase the rates of trucking? And again, trucking is how 70% of things get around the U.S. because a lot of these things will have to be trucked to different places. Should we look for a near-term spike specifically in trucking as well?
Yeah, I would think so. Probably in trucking and rail as well, but we'll have a short-term impact in terms of an increase in demand and therefore an increase of rates. And trucking is quite regional, so it will take some time, and we'll see some impact on higher costs until alternatives are found and this kind of stabilizes.
All right.